My name is Cotter, and I'm one of the pastors here at the church. And one thing I want to do is welcome everybody that is watching online this morning. Every Sunday, we got people who watch on YouTube, people who listen to the podcast during the week, people who are watching on the Church Center app. So can we make some noise for everybody that's online today? Well, this is one of my favorite times of the whole year. When I was a kid growing up, summer was my favorite time of the year. But now that I'm an adult, I feel like fall is kind of better than the summer. I love the fall time of year. You got pumpkins everywhere. Maybe most of the tourists are gone at this point of the year. It's a little less crowded around here. And the best part about this time of year is that it's football season. It is football season. I absolutely love football, probably more than I should. But I love football so much because it's always been a time for our family to get together. And we got a photo of my family we can put up on the screen from the Super Bowl this year. Go Birds, by the way. Love that Super Bowl. Can't get a game better than the Eagles winning by 1,000. That game was awesome. But this is a photo of us. You got my parents and my brother and sister and I, and getting together for football. That's just something we've always done. Growing up, my memories of Sundays is that we'd always get out together. We would go to church, and then after church, we'd come home and we'd watch the Fox Sunday Countdown show. We'd watch football during the day, play out in the yard, throwing the football to each other at halftime, and then at night, we would watch NFL Prime Time with Chris Berman to watch all the highlights of all the games. And Sundays are just a great, great family day. And it's still something that I do. When I was in college, I would drive home from college on Sundays to watch football with my parents on Sunday afternoons. And even now, on most Sundays in the fall, I grab my kids after church, head down to my parents' house, and we eat some Laurel Pizzeria pepperoni pizzas. Can't beat that. And just watch football. Last Sunday, I'm with my parents watching the Eagles game, and the Eagles block a field goal and take it back for a touchdown, and who do I get to high five? My parents. Football is awesome, but being able to share it with other people is really what makes it so special, and I think life is that way too. Life is so much better when we've got a group of people that are by our side, people that are invested in our lives. And so today we're going to be reading a story from the book of Mark. If you have your Bible, you can start turning there. We're going to be in chapter 2 of the book of Mark. And listen, if you need a Bible or if you have a friend that needs a Bible, we've got Bibles out in the lobby, and that's what they're there for. They're there for you to grab it or to give one to a friend. So Mark chapter 2, we're going to start out in verse 1 this morning. It says, "A few days later, when Jesus again entered Capernaum, the people heard that he had come home. They gathered in such large numbers that there was no room left, not even outside the door, and he preached the word to them." So Jesus comes to this place called Capernaum, and everyone there, they're so excited to see him. And verse 1 says that he was entering there again. So if we look back to the last chapter of Mark, we can read about the last time he was in this place, and it gives us a better understanding of why everyone was so excited to see him. And so in verse 1, we see Jesus, when he was in Capernaum the last time, he was healing the sick. He was preaching to large crowds of people there. They were amazed at his teachings, amazed at how he healed people. And one of the coolest verses in that chapter was verse 33, where it says that the whole town gathered at the door. So Jesus is preaching to these people, and they're hanging by every word. They're following him around everywhere he went, preaching and healing. And then Jesus took a little bit of a break from there. He kind of pulled back. He went to a place where he could pray on his own for some time. And then he went and he was sharing the good news with some other towns in that area. And then we get to chapter 2 of Mark, and Jesus is back. He's back in Capernaum, and everybody in this town was so excited to see him. And that kind of sets up what we're going to read this morning, because Jesus wasn't preaching to a small crowd this day. Verse 2 says that they gathered in such large numbers that there was no room left, not even outside the door. This place was packed. Jesus was back in town, and everybody wanted to see him preach and see him heal people. And so let's keep reading. We'll pick back up in verse 3. So it says, "Some men came, bringing to him a paralyzed man carried by 4 of them. Since they could not get him to Jesus because of the crowd, they made an opening in the roof above Jesus by digging through it and then lowered the mat the man was lying on. So there's all these people listening to Jesus. There's no room inside. There's no room outside. This place is packed. And then we see this man who's paralyzed. And he and his friends, they desperately wanted to get him to Jesus because they knew that Jesus could heal him. They'd seen Jesus heal. They knew that he could do it again, but because of how many people were there, it was nearly impossible for these guys to get their friend to Jesus. So they did what James Bond would do. They went up on the roof and they found another way into this building. And so they go up on the roof, and the verses say that they tear the roof apart. And so the roofs in this area at this time were likely made of straw and clay. And so they're just digging through, and they're trying to make an opening in this roof. And it's a really cool story what they're doing for their friend. As a homeowner, it makes me a little uncomfortable. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but your roof is everything. When I get home at the end of every single day, no joke, I am inspecting our shingles. I'm looking to make sure we don't have any doing the little triangle thing, making sure that the edges aren't wearing. You're not seeing too much of the silver and everything when you got to replace it. I'm always looking at our shingles. Your roof is everything. So can you imagine, you're the owner of this building. The Messiah of the world comes to your house, and so you are vacuuming, you are cleaning things up, you're getting all those pots and pans that you haven't washed, and you're shoving them in the oven so nobody can see them, and Jesus is there, and everything's amazing, and then these dudes start tearing your roof off your building. I'd be losing it. That's breaking and entering. That's not cool. But that's what these guys were doing. And so they break through this roof. They carry their buddy up there, and then they lowered him through the hole in the roof into the room where Jesus is speaking. These men really wanted their friend to experience Jesus. So let's keep reading. Look at verse 5 with me. It says, when Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralyzed man, "Son, your sins are forgiven." So this man is paralyzed, and his friends get him to Jesus. And what Jesus does here is really cool. We could spend a lot of time getting into the details of this, but for this morning, it's just important to see that these friends brought this man to Jesus in the hope that Jesus would heal him physically. He was paralyzed. They wanted him to get healed. But Jesus responded first by healing him spiritually. So he saw the physical need, but Jesus knew that the man's greater need was spiritual. And so that's where Jesus started. He said, "Son, your sins are forgiven." Because of his faith, because of the faith of his friends, he was forgiven. And then a few verses later, Jesus healed him physically as well. So because of their faith and the effort of his friends to get him to Jesus, this man is healed both physically and spiritually. And there's a few things that we can learn from the men in this story. Some ways that these men took care of their friend. Some ways that the paralyzed man put himself into a really, really good situation before this. And so let's hop back in, looking at verse 3. Verse 3 says, "Some men came, bringing to him a paralyzed man, carried by 4 of them." So this paralyzed man, he can't walk. He doesn't have any way to get to Jesus. Jesus comes to town, and he can't even get there. But he's got these 4 friends, and they got him somewhere that he couldn't get to on his own. The only reason that this paralyzed man ended up in the room with Jesus was the effort of his friends carrying him to the building, lifting him up onto the roof, and then lowering him down inside. Their effort for him was incredible. They did so much for him. And so here's my first question for us this morning. Who is carrying you? Who is carrying you? This man, he couldn't get to Jesus on his own. He needed his friends. He needed their help. He needed their support. So who's supporting you? Who encourages you on a hard day? Who shows you the positives in life when you're feeling overwhelmed? Who gets you closer to Jesus when you're weak? Who is getting you to where you need to be? Now, growing up, my brother and our friends, we loved going to the beach, and we spent a lot of time in Rehoboth when we were pretty young, and then they did all the dredging, and the waves got weird, and so then we started going out to Key Box Road. How many of you guys are familiar with Key Box Road? So that's more, that's funny. I don't know what Key Box Road is, actually. We'll keep it a local secret. It's a great fishing spot. It's a great drive-on spot. It's also the best spot around if you want to encounter some stingrays or some skates. They are everywhere out there. It is terrifying. But there's a good spot to kind of get some waves. There was never really anybody there when we were growing up, and so it was a great spot to get some waves. And so we went out there this one day. It's just like the 5 or 6 of us out there, and there's no one else on the beach. You can look all the way to the inlet. You're not going to see anybody. You can look all the way to Dewey. You're not going to see anybody. It's just the 5 or 6 of us out there. And so we're out there, and my older brother, Kyle, he is better than me at everything. Like literally everything in life, he is better than me at. And so the one thing that I've always been a little better than him at is skimboarding. And so we're out there, and he tries to skimboard this wave, and I don't think he's listening online. Listen, it was terrible. Terrible. And so I told him, I was like, dude, do you even know what a skimboard is? And so I was like, let me show you how it's done. I had a lot of humility as a kid. And so I grabbed my board and I go to ride an awesome wave, and it went terribly, like just terribly. I fell, and my board went out in front of me, and the next wave that was coming, it kind of picked up my board and threw it back at my leg, put a hole in my knee. I could see my bone in my knee, which was sketchy. Never seen a bone in my body before or after that moment. It was weird. And so I'm feeling like, in a lot of pain for my knee. My pride is hurting because I told my brother I was awesome at skimboarding, and then that happened. And so I'm just kind of jogging out of the water, and I'm like, oh man, this is the worst. And so I sit down on the beach and kind of realize like how much my leg hurt. And so it's great to be at a beach where nobody's around when you're enjoying the beach. It's not as great when you're hurt and you need some help and there's nobody around. And so we're pretty far out away from everything. And so I couldn't really walk back to the car. So my brother and our friends, they came over and they carried me. They picked me up. 2 people carried me by the shoulders. 2 people carried me by the legs. And they carried me all the way across the beach, like a half of a mile back to the car. They loaded me up in the car and they got me over to BB to get my knee all stitched up. And isn't it great to have people that are looking out for us? Yeah. It's so good to have people that'll step up and help us out when we can't help ourselves. We all need people who will be by our side for the good moments in life, like hanging out at the beach, but also people that are going to take care of us when we're struggling. People that'll carry us when we're down. People that'll help us when we're going through really hard things in life, when the marriage is struggling, when parenting or work feels just so overwhelming, when you're walking through major health struggles. Life has some amazing moments, but it's also got difficult moments where we need to rely on other people to help us stay positive, to stay focused on our goals, to stay on track with our faith. So who is carrying you? Who prays for you? Who can you rely on to be there for you? When I messed up my knee and I needed some help, I had my brother and I had my friends. They were there for me. We had fun together, but we also took care of each other. And the paralyzed man in these verses, he had his 4 friends. They were willing to do anything to help him out. They wanted to see him healed, and they went to great lengths to see that happen. So who is in your life that helps you out when things get hard? Who's encouraging you? Who's reminding you of your goals? Who are your people that are carrying you along? Because we all need those people. And for the paralyzed man in the story, having these friends around to take care of him, that's not something that just randomly happened for him. Let's look back at verse 3. Verse 3 says, some men came bringing to him a paralyzed man carried by 4 of them. And so we don't know a whole lot about this paralyzed man, his past, how he became paralyzed, or if that's something he dealt with from birth. We don't know a ton about him. But what we can see in these verses is that he placed people in his life that were willing to help him and that were capable of helping him. He had the right people surrounding him. When Jesus came into town, he had his people. Guys that dropped what they had going on to ensure that he could have an opportunity to be healed. And so here's our second question this morning. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are you surrounding yourself with? So a few weeks ago, we were up at Funland, up on the boardwalk. How many of you guys went out to Funland this summer? You guys are smart. I think the entire state of Pennsylvania was there when we were there. But it was amazing. Funland is a great spot for the kids. I learned something when I was there that I never knew. If you have little kids, you can get on some of the rides with them. It's awesome. I didn't know you could do that. And so there's this little like miniature Ferris wheel ride that I always thought looked cool, but I was like, I kind of reached the height limit for that one. I'm not going to be on there. But they let me get on because my kids were with me, and we got a photo of me and the kids on this ride. It was a tight fit. And I think I was the most scared out of any of us on this thing. But it was awesome. And the more I look at like this picture, like I just see the kids with their shaggy hair and they're like growing up. And it just reminded me of like one of the first times we took our oldest son, Taj, to Funland. And at the time he was around 2 years old, like maybe barely 2 years old. And he wanted to ride some of the rides because he's never done it before. And so he saw these little like cars that were going around in circles and he really wanted to ride it, but he was a little nervous and he didn't really want to do it by himself. And so my sister's youngest son and my brother's youngest son, they were there with us and they're a few years older than him. And so they saw that he was wanting to ride this ride, but he was a little scared. And so they ran over there and they hopped on the ride with him to help him ride it. And we got a photo of the three of them on there. So that's him, that's our son there on the left, and then his cousin's there on the ride with him. And I love this because he couldn't do it by himself, but they got on there with him so he could experience it. And that's what we need in life. We need to be surrounding ourselves with people that are more qualified than us, people that are more experienced than us, more capable than us. We need people that can help us get on the ride when we can't do it on ourselves, by ourselves. Taj wasn't ready to ride that ride by himself, but he had his buddies there that could step in and that could help him out. And those are the types of people that we need to be surrounding ourselves with. None of us have everything in life figured out. None of us have all the answers. We have our like particular skill sets and everything, but we also have blind spots and weaknesses. And look, I like to think that I'm a capable person. I work very hard. I've had varied work experiences in my life growing up, like as random as you can think. I've had work experience in landscaping and land surveying. I worked in retail for a number of years. I've had over a decade that I've worked in churches, and I've done things from scrubbing the toilets to leading youth group to leading worship. And you would never want to hear me sing. It is one of the worst things you would ever hear in life. In school, I studied a bunch of random stuff. I studied history and media production. I went to seminary. And so I've been on this earth for over 30 years, learning things, making mistakes, gaining experiences. And my takeaway from all of that is that I have some areas where I'm strong, but there's so many areas in life where I just don't have the answers. I don't have the experience or the knowledge or the training. I just don't have it. And here's what I've realized. Regardless of my education or my experiences in life, there's always going to be somebody smarter than me. There's always going to be somebody more capable than I am. There's always going to be somebody with more experience. And so what I try to do is I know that I have a lot of room to grow, and I want to grow in life. I want to be great at what I do, whether it is my job or being a spouse and a father or just doing random repairs around the house, whatever it is, I want to be great at what I'm doing. And so I try to surround myself with people who are excellent in their work, excellent with their money, diligent in their relationship with Jesus. I want to be around honest people. I want to be around hardworking people. I want to be around people who are motivated to be great in their parenting, motivated to be great at their marriage. I have a lot to learn, and so I want to be around people who have been parenting for longer than I've been. I want to be around people who have been married for longer than I've been. In all areas of life, I try to be around people who have been living life longer than me and have been pursuing excellence in their lives because that's my goal. I want to make the most of the life that I've been given. I want to be the best that I can be. And if that's going to happen, I need to be around people that can carry me along and that can get me to the places that I can't get to on my own. The paralyzed man in the story, he had a desire to get to Jesus and to be healed, but he wasn't able to do that on his own. He needed his friends. And his journey of healing, both spiritually and physically, it happened long before Jesus showed up that day. Before that day, he placed people around him who could get him to where he wanted to go. And so my question for us is this: who are you surrounding yourself with? Are your friends a group of people that are going where you want to go in life? Are you hanging around people that have already accomplished the goals that you have for your life? People that have experience and motivation. People who can show you how to make the most of your life and the most of parenting, the most of marriage. People who model good character and good values and a strong relationship with Jesus. If we want to be the best that we can be, to the best Jesus follower, the best parent, the best spouse, the best friend, then we need to be around people who are modeling that. People who are living it. so they can show us the ropes and they can bring us along. Let's look back at the story in Mark and look at verse 12. Verse 12 says, he got up, took his mat, and walked out in full view of them all. This amazed everyone, and they praised God. So his friends brought him to Jesus, and Jesus healed him, and then he gets up and he walks out on his own. He couldn't get there on his own, but because of his friends and because of Jesus, he could stand up and he could walk out. And so I told you that story about our son going on that ride, and he needed his cousins to kind of give him the confidence to ride that little car ride that went in circles. And so when that ride ended, the kids got off and they saw this fire truck ride that's up at Funland, and they wanted to ride it. So they ran over and they're standing in line. And how those rides work is there's like this gate at the front, and all the kids just kind of stand in line and wait. And as soon as that gate opens, they run on and they all hop on the cars and try to get there first. And so I expected him to run on and hop on one with his cousins, but instead he got in there and he just found a fire truck where it was just him by himself on there. And we got a picture of him on there. Look at that. I mean, that is a hard picture to look at and continue speaking, because I just want to stare at it for the rest of the day. Like, so much joy in that kid's face. And he's riding this ride alone. First time ever riding something alone. And he's just loving it. Cruising by himself. He could do that because his buddies brought him along. They showed him how it was done, and so he gained the confidence and the experience to be able to do it himself. The paralyzed man in the story, he needed his friends to get him to Jesus, but he didn't need their help to leave. There's so many decisions that we make in life that have huge consequences. How we allocate our time is so precious. How to nurture our relationship with our spouse, how to raise our children, how to handle our money and our resources. And when we make those choices, we can either just do what feels easy, what feels comfortable and natural, or we can rely on the wisdom of people who we've placed around us, their experience, their knowledge. Surrounding ourselves with people who have shared values, shared ambition and drive, that's how we make the most of the lives that God has given us. So I've given you guys 2 questions this morning. Who is carrying you? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Now let me give you some answers, or at least some suggestions for how you can find those right people for your life. People who are going to challenge you to grow in your relationship with Jesus and challenge you to strive for greatness in life. The paralyzed man in these verses, he had these 4 friends that cared about him and took him to Jesus, and they were concerned about his physical needs and also his spiritual needs. Look at verse 5 with me again. Verse 5 says, when Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralyzed man, son, your sins are forgiven. Whose faith did Jesus see?
His friends.
He saw his friend's faith. So this man had faith that Jesus could heal him, and his friends also had faith that Jesus would heal him. It was their faith that Jesus saw. We need people in our lives who are looking out for our spiritual needs and also our practical needs. People who care about our relationship with Jesus, and people who just care about our day, the small things and the big things. So as you're looking for people who will support you, people who will encourage you, I think the best place to start is with small groups. And small groups are things that we have here at the church. They meet in our local community. They meet here at the building. They meet in coffee shops, in bowling alleys, and bike paths, and in homes around the city. And the heart behind small groups is this. Your group is like your extended family. They are people who are going to take care of you, people who will be by your side celebrating the good things in life. And then when life gets really hard and you're going through difficult things, they're going to lock arms with you, and they're going to be with you to support you and encourage you through it. It's people who are growing in their relationship with Jesus, and people who are going to help you grow in your relationship with Jesus. We need people around us that have our back. We need a team that we can rely on. And so this fall, we're launching 7 new groups here at this campus. And in total, just at our campus, we have 20 groups that have open space at them across all our campuses. And you guys can look at all of our groups, but we've got 46 open groups across all of our campuses. And these groups, they're varied in age, in focus, in what they do. And I really believe there's a group for everyone. If you're just looking for some friends to go biking with or bowling with, or people that you want to play pickleball with, we've got groups for all of those things. If you're looking for some people to serve our local community with, we've got groups for that. If you're looking for friends to study the Bible with, we have groups for that. And if you look through all of the groups of the campus, you feel like, I just don't know if there's really a great fit for me. Well, I will meet with you and I will give you the tools to start your own group so that you can have a group of people that are there for you. We all need community. And groups are the best place to find that community. Now, let me tell you about some of the groups that we have launching this fall. I'm so excited about this group, all of these groups. The first one is Breaking Bread with Jordan and Chelsea. And this group, it's open for everyone. They're going to meet about once a month, and they are going to share a meal, and they're going to do a book study that helps them learn how to read the Bible. It's a really cool group. Then we've got Emmett and Erica who are starting a group called Kids Play, Parents Pray. And the heart behind this group is that it can be hard with young kids to get them to focus and actually be able to do a Bible study. And so they're going to meet at a playground near the church on a Sunday afternoon. And they're going to get together and they're going to split into two groups. One group of parents is going to watch the kids. The other group is going to be able to discuss the book study they're doing. They're going to be able to pray together and be in community with each other. And then after some time, they'll kind of rotate. So both groups of people get that time doing that. Next, we have Brad and Carol's group. They are starting a group called Re-Engage Your Marriage. It's going to be an awesome group for married couples. If you're looking for something to strengthen your marriage, if you're looking for other couples that you want to just be able to have some couple friends and learn more about loving each other, learn more about living as a couple and living the biblical way. Like, this is going to be a really great group. We've also got Jay and Janet starting a group called Marriage Group. Now, this group is actually full. They filled it before we could even talk about it, which is pretty awesome. So then next we've got Shirley, who is starting the Sunday Brunch Bunch group. And this is a group for women age 55 and up. They're going to meet after church on Sundays, and they're just going to go to a local restaurant and dive deeper into Sunday's message. Next, we've got Ellis, who is starting a group called Tuesday Book and Bible Group. And this group is going to meet right here at the church on Tuesday nights. They're going to have pizza together, and they're going to do a book study together. And the first book they're going to do is a really amazing book about forgiveness. I'm really excited about this book that they're going to be doing. It's going to be an awesome group. And then we've got Doug and Lael, who are starting a group called What Am I Here For? They're also going to be meeting right here at the church on Wednesdays. And they're going to study the purpose-driven life. So if you are newer to faith and you're just looking for some basic tools, like how do I read the Bible? How do I pray? Like, what does it look like to live a life for Jesus? This is the group for you. It's going to be an amazing group, and so that is What Am I Here For? And so the leaders of these new groups are all here. They're going to be in the lobby after the service. I'd love to meet you and answer any questions you might have about their group. If you want to sign up that way, you can. You can also sign up through the Bay Shore Church Center app or with that QR code behind your chair. But groups are such a great place to meet people. It's something we all need. Now, how many of you guys were here last Sunday? Last Sunday was awesome. So many people going public with their faith in Jesus and their love for him. It was such a fun Sunday. And I want to show you guys a picture from last Sunday. It's my favorite photo from last week. So this is our guest services team, and this is before the first service last week. And so every Sunday, we got volunteers who are serving here at the building, and we've got a few different teams that we have. And so I had the privilege of leading our guest services team. And this team is our greeters that are upstairs, greeters downstairs and in the lobby. It's our team that connects with guests. It's our team that makes the coffee. It's our prayer team that is praying for all of us during the week. And so before every service, we get together out in the backyard and we just kind of go over some details for Sunday morning. And also we get a chance to pray together and be together for a few minutes before church starts. And I love this group of people so much. Last week, before just the first service, we had 21 people serving on our team. It's incredible. I love these people so much. Everyone on our team is so selfless. They have the biggest hearts. They have so much love for Jesus and for each other and for this church. And so on Sundays, when you're here at church, you probably see our teams serving in different areas, the cameras and the band and the kids volunteers. And one thing you might not notice, though, is that if you're not on one of our teams, you don't see the connections that these volunteers are making with each other. Because they're here and they're accomplishing practical tasks, they're getting some things done, but they also are building connections with each other. Our volunteers pray for each other on Sundays. They pray for each other during the week. They care about each other and they take care of each other. And this is the other main way that you can find people who will walk through life by your side. Serving teams are an awesome way to find friends, to meet people It's an awesome way to serve Jesus and to serve other people. And the best way to be a part of one of our serving teams is something we have called Next Steps. Nate talked about it a little bit earlier. It's something we do a handful of times each year. And it is just a 3-hour class on a Saturday. And the next one is this coming Saturday morning. It's going to be right here in this room from 8:30 to 11:30. And what Next Steps is it's a time for you to learn more about the church, what we believe, what we're all about. And it's also a way to learn about your personality and learn about our serving teams and how you can fit here at the church. And just like groups, you can sign up for Next Steps on the Church Center app. But something that I tell every Next Steps class when we have it is that serving, it's not something that the church is trying to get from you. We're not just trying to fill practical needs and accomplish practical things. Serving is about something that we want for you. I've seen so many friendships begin and grow because people serve together and they made that connection with each other. So whether you find your people through a group or through a serving team, what matters most is that you connect with other people that have the shared goal of living for Jesus. We need people that care about us. We need people that are going to pray for us. People who will encourage us and be our support system as we go through life. And look, the reason that I'm passionate about groups, the reason I'm passionate about serving is the impact that I've seen it have in my life. I still keep up with the guys that were in my Bible study back in college. I still text those guys. We call each other when we got big things going on in life. Those are the guys that I'm reaching out to for prayer. When they're in town, I'm always meeting up with them. I have seen so much life change from groups and from people that are a part of serving teams. And I desire for everyone to experience the peace and comfort that comes from having a support system in life. We all need that. We all need people who are caring about us and people who will carry us along. The paralyzed man in the story, he needed his friends to get to where he wanted to go. Surrounding himself with those men, it completely changed his life. And so how would your life change if you had more people that were looking out for you? People who were praying for you each day. People who were checking in on you and motivating you to live for Jesus and to be great at life. We all need people who will lift us up. Let's close our eyes as we end our service. If you're here today and you're kind of feeling like this paralyzed man was, where life is just really heavy and you don't have Jesus to rely on, I want you to know that today can be the day where you choose to place your faith in Jesus. We were not meant to go through life alone. We were created to be in fellowship with Jesus, to have a relationship with our Creator. And if you want to place your faith in Jesus this morning, I'd encourage you to raise your hand. Raising your hand is a way that you can say, I'm going to put my trust in Jesus. I'm going to live for Him. I'm going to make Him my number one priority in life over everything else.